This is section 8.3. Homework assignment was page 505 to 506, 2 to 18 even. I'm going to do 1 through 17 odd. All right, they want us to solve. Because the radical is already isolated on the right, I can go ahead and square both sides. Oops. Make sure to use your parentheses. Square root and square cancel each other, leaving you 4x squared, because both pieces here need to be squared, is equal to 10 plus 3x. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, leaving me 4x squared minus 3x equals 10. Then I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. The reason I am setting it equal to 0 is because this squared term right here tells me that I'm going to have to factor the problem in order to solve. Now you have multiple ways you can factor it. You could complete the square, you could factor using the 8 steps, or you could use the quadratic formula. I think I'm going to try to regularly factor and see if that works. So you multiply your first and last numbers to give 40. Your factors of 40 are 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, and 5 and 8. 5 and 8 can give me 3. Remember, give 4x to both of your houses. Keep your first sign. If your first sign is minus, you change your second sign. Larger number always goes first. Compare each house and see if there's anything that can be divided out. In your first house, you can divide out of 4, leaving you x minus 2. In your second house, nothing divides out, so you just leave it 4x minus 5. And now you're going to set each piece equal to 0. So you have x minus 2 equals 0, and 4x plus 5 equals 0. Add 2 to both sides. You get x equals 2. Subtract 5 from both sides. You get 4x equals negative 5. Divide by 4. And your answers are negative 5 over 4 and 2. Number 3 says x minus 2 square root of x equals 8. Now, in order to be able to get rid of the radical, I have to isolate it. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract x from both sides, leaving me negative 2 square root of x is equal to negative x plus 8. All right. I'm going to go ahead and square both sides to get rid of the radical. So negative 2 squared is 4, and the square root of x squared is just x, is equal to negative x plus 8 times negative x plus 8. So I have 4x is equal to negative x times negative x is positive x squared. Negative x times 8 is negative 8x. 8 times negative x is negative 8x, and 8 times 8 is 64. Combine your like terms. You get x squared minus 16x plus 64. This x squared should be a dead giveaway for the fact that you're going to have to factor. So I subtract 4x from both sides, which gives me 0 equals x squared minus 20x plus 64. So now I'm going to have to factor. You can do regular everyday factoring, or you can do quadratic formula. So I'll go ahead and do quadratic formula on this one, since that's what we've been doing lately. So A is 1, B is negative 20, and C is 64. So make sure when you plug into the quadratic formula, you have x equals negative b. B is a negative number, so it's negative 20 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 20 squared minus 4ac. all over 2a, which is 2 times 1. So we have x equals negative 20 is positive 20, plus or minus the square root of negative 20 squared is 400. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 64 is negative 256, all over 2. X is equal to 20 plus or minus the square root. 400 minus 256 is 144 over 2. 20 plus or minus the square root of 144 is 12 over 2. So you have x equals 20 plus 12 over 2, and x equals 20 minus 12 over 2. 20 plus 12 is 32 over 2, which is 16. And 20 minus 12 is 8 over 2, which is 4. So your two possible answers are 16 and 4. Remember, when you're dealing with these types of problems, you have to plug your answers back in to make sure that everything works. So I'm going to plug back in. The original equation was x minus 2 square root of x equals 8. So let's start with 16. 16 minus 2 square root of 16 equals 8. We know the square root of 16 is 4. So we have 16, 2 times 4 is 8, minus 8 equals 8, which is true. So 16 is the solution. Now let's plug in 4. 4 minus 2 square root of 4 is equal to 8. Square root of 4 we know is 2. So we have 4 minus 4 equals 8. That is not true, so 4 is not an answer. And your solution is just 16. All right, next we have the square root of 9x equals x plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and square both sides to get rid of the square root in the square. You have 9x equals x plus 2 times x plus 2. 9x equals x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. 9x is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4. Subtract 9x from both sides because obviously I'm going to have to factor here, leaving me 0 equals x squared minus 5x plus 4. All right, since I have such small numbers, I'm just going to go ahead and regularly factor this. Remember, you multiply your coefficient of your first and last term. So 1 times 4 is 4. My factors of 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. 1 and 4 are going to be the ones that give me 5. So each house gets an x. Keep your first sign. If your first sign's minus, you change your second sign. Larger number always goes first. So then you set each one equal to 0. So you get x is 4. And you get x is 1. So go ahead and check your work. You've got the square root of 9 times 4 is equal to 4 plus 2. 9 times 4 is 36. The square root of 36 is equal to 6. That's true. So 4 is a good answer. Now let's try 1. Square root of 9 times 1 equals 1 plus 2. 9 times 1 is 9, so the square root of 9 equals 3. That's also true. So both 1 and 4 are good answers. All right, in this problem we're going to have to find our LCD. So our LCD is going to be x times x minus 1. So you multiply x times x minus 1 times every piece of the equation. This x and this x cancel. This x plus 1, or I'm sorry, x minus 1 and this x minus 1 cancel. So now you're going to multiply what's left. So you have 2 times x minus 1 plus 3 times x equals 1 times x minus 1. So that's just equals x times x minus 1. Now I'm going to distribute 2x minus 2 plus 3x equals x squared minus x. X squared is a dead giveaway I'm going to have to factor. So I'm going to go ahead and move everything to one side. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I'm sorry, scratch that. Before I do that, let's save ourselves some time later and go ahead and combine like terms on the left. Because 2x and negative 3x are like terms, yes? So 2x plus 3x is 5x minus 2 is equal to x squared minus x. Now let's go ahead and subtract 5x over to the other side, which is going to leave me negative 2 is equal to x squared minus 6x. I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and you get 0 is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 2. Okay, you could complete the square, you could use quadratic formula, or you could just do regular factoring. Alright. I'm going to do regular factoring here. Okay, what factors of 2 are going to give me negative 6? I've got 1 and 2. Those are my only options, right? 1 and 2 can never give me 6. So that means I can't do regular factoring. Alright, so let's try something else. How about we try the quadratic formula? Alright, if we do the quadratic formula, you get a is 1, b is negative 6, and c is 2. So you're going to plug that in. And you're going to get x equals negative b, which is negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. Alright, a negative 6 is a positive 6, plus or minus the square root. Negative 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, times 2 is negative 8, all over 2. X equals 6 plus or minus 36 minus 8 is 24. I'm sorry. Divided by 2. Let's see if we can simplify the square root of 28 at all. 28 is 14 times 2. 14 is 7 times 2. So you're going to end up with 2 square root of 7. So you have x equals 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 7, all over 2. And now you can factor a 2 out of the numerator, leaving you with 3 plus or minus the square root of 7. And then your 2's are going to cancel. So your answer is just 3 minus the square root of 7, 3 plus the square root of 7. Just like in the last problem, you're going to have to find the LCD in order to solve this problem. So the LCD is x times x plus 2. So you're going to take x times x plus 2 and multiply it times each piece. in order to make some things cancel. All right, this x and this x cancel. X plus 2 and x plus 2 cancel. And that leaves me with 3 times x plus 2 plus 4 times x is equal to 2 times x plus 2, which is 2x times x plus 2. All right, go ahead and distribute. And you get 3x plus 6 plus 4x is equal to 2x squared plus 4x. Combine like terms on the left side. 3x plus 4x is 7x plus 6 is equal to 2x squared plus 4x. The x squared is a dead giveaway that I'm going to have to factor. So subtract 7x from both sides. And then subtract 6 from both sides. Leaving you 0 equals 2x squared minus 3x minus 6. All right, now I'm going to look at this and see if I can go ahead and just do regular factoring. So you have 2 times 6 gives me 12. Are there any factors of 12 that can give me 3? So I've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. None of those are going to give me 3, so I'm going to have to complete the square or do the quadratic formula. So I'm going to go ahead and do the quadratic formula. A is 2, B is negative 3, and C is negative 6. Okay, we'll go ahead and plug into the quadratic formula. X equals negative b, which is negative 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, we'll go ahead and clean it up. X equals negative 3 is positive 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, times negative 6 is positive 48, all over 4. X is equal to 3 plus or minus 9 and 48 is 57 over 4. (57) cannot be simplified any further. So your answer is 3 minus the square root of 57 over 4, 3 plus the square root of 57 over 4. Okay, on this problem you're going to have to go ahead and factor this denominator before you can find your LCD. So if I factor this, I get x and x minus minus, and the factors of 6 that give me 5 are 3 and 2 or 6 and 1. 3 and 2 work, 6 and 1 do not, so be careful on that. So my LCD is x minus 3, and then I need x minus 2, and then I need x minus 3, but I've already got it, and I need x minus 2, but I've already got it. So now you're going to multiply x minus 3 times x minus 2 by each piece. All right, here the x minus 3's cancel and the x minus 2's cancel. Here the x minus 3's cancel, and here the x minus 2's cancel. So now you're left with 7 is equal to 2x times x minus 2 minus x times x minus 3. Okay, go ahead and distribute. 2x squared minus 4x minus x squared plus 3x. It's plus 3 because it's minus 3. Negative 3 and negative 3x. All right, go ahead and combine like terms on the right side. 2x squared minus x squared is just x squared. And negative 4x plus 3x is just negative x. Now the x squared tells us we're going to have to factor. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides to set my problem equal to 0, so I can go ahead and factor. Now, the only factors of 7 are 1 and 7, and there's no way 1 and 7 can give us 1, so I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula. So A is 1, B is negative 1, and C is negative 7. So I have x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, we'll go ahead and clean that up. You'll get x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 1. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times negative 7 is positive 28 all over 2. X equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 29 over 2. 29 is prime, so we can't simplify it at all, and that gives us 1 minus the square root of 29, 1 plus the square root of 29 over 2. All right, here you have p to the fourth minus 16 equals 0. So hopefully you recognize immediately that this is difference of squares, because p to the fourth is a perfect square and 16 is a perfect square. So you remember when we first did this, our example started with like x squared minus 9, and you knew that that was x plus 3, x minus 3. So that's exactly what we're going to do here, except it's p to the fourth, so it's going to become p squared plus 4 and p squared minus 4 is equal to 0. And then you're going to set each piece equal to 0. P squared plus 4 equals 0. P squared minus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4 from both sides, giving you p squared is equal to negative 4. Then square root both sides. Square root and square cancel, leaving you p equals 2i. I because of the negative under the root, and 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. And then over here I'm going to add 4 to both sides, leaving me p squared is equal to 4. Square root both sides. Square root and square cancel, leaving you p equals plus or minus 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. And don't forget your plus or minus over here as well. So your answers are negative 2i, positive 2i, negative 2, and positive 2. All right, we have 4x to the fourth plus 11x squared is equal to 3. You're going to want to subtract 3 from both sides, so you can set your equation equal to 0. This should actually be to the fourth power. Okay. All right. Now you're going to factor this. You're going to treat this just like a normal factoring problem. You're going to multiply your first and last number to get 12, and then your factors of 12 that give you 11. We've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. 1 and 12 are going to be my factors that give me 11. So I'm going to build my houses. So you have 4x squared and 4x squared. 4, because remember both houses always get 4, and x squared because x squared times x squared gives me x to the fourth. I'm going to keep my first sign. If your first sign is positive, you keep your second sign. Larger number always goes first. All right, now you're going to set both pieces. Oh, just kidding. Before I do that, see if there's anything that can be divided out of either house. So the first house, a 4 can be divided out, which leaves me x squared plus 3 times 4x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. So I'm going to say x squared plus 3 equals 0, and 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides. You get x squared is equal to negative 3. Square root both sides. Square root and square cancel, leaving you x equals plus or minus I square root of 3, plus or minus because I wrote the square root, and I because there was a negative underneath the square root. And then over here you're going to add 1 to both sides, leaving you 4x squared is equal to 1. Divide both sides by 4. X squared is equal to 1/4. Square root both sides. Square root and square cancel, leaving you x equals plus or minus the square root of 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and break that up into the square root of 1 over the square root of 4. We know the square root of 1 is 1 and the square root of 4 is 2. So my answers are negative I square root of 3, I square root of 3, negative 1/2, and positive 1/2. All right, last one. Z to the fourth minus 13z squared plus 36. All right, I'm going to treat this like a regular factoring problem. I'm going to build my houses, set it equal to 0, multiply your first and last number, you get 36. What factors of 36 are going to give me 13? So I have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. 4 and 9 are going to be what give me 13. So each house is going to get a z squared, because z squared times z squared is z to the fourth. Keep your first sign. If your first sign is minus, you change your second sign. Always write your larger number first. See if there's anything you can divide out of either house. In this case, there is not. So I've got z squared minus 9 equals 0, and z squared minus 4 equals 0. Here you're going to add 9 to both sides, leaving me z squared is equal to 9. Square root both sides. You got the square and the square root cancel, leaving you z is equal to plus or minus 3. Plus or minus because I wrote the square root. Add 4 to both sides over here. So you have z squared is equal to 4. Square root both sides. Square root and square cancel, leaving you z is equal to plus or minus 2. So your answers here are negative 3, 3, negative 2, and 2. That is it for tonight's homework. Hope you guys have a good night.